the thing about our industry is that it's not always in our control. A lot of times there's an external force that's coming, like the Fed and raising interest rates, and what that means, and the economy, and how that impacts like our tenants. So you really do need to think about these hard questions ahead of time, because even if you do everything perfectly at every moment, it's not always up to us.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Immigrant Doctor podcast. I have with me Priya Raje. So, I know Priya through Veena Jetty. If you are in the real estate world or in the world of syndications, you may or may not have heard of Veena Jetty. She's a badass at real estate. And actually, Priya Raje is her sister. And she is, believe it or not, the backbone of the entire operation. You will probably have seen Veena on social media and wherever, but actually the operations are run by Priya. So I wanted to bring her on so that we could talk about what those back-end operations look like. And I really wanted to kind of take a deep dive into sort of behind the scenes operations, so that it not only helps me as an investor, as a syndicator, but also helps you kind of get perspective of how multifamily is a team sport. So I want to welcome Priya to the show. Welcome, Priya.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My inaugural podcast. So thank you again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and this is the first episode that you ever done on a podcast. I know I wore you down and I kind of convinced you to get onto the show. And I know you're nervous, but I promise I'm going to be nice and kind to you.
Yes, thank you. Everyone sees Veena as this very outgoing and face of the company, and I love it that way. And that's why our partnership works so well, is because I get to sit behind the scenes and be quietly, hopefully driving success for our company. So this is all new for me.
Yeah. And this is why I wanted to have this, because for me, it was very hard to comprehend. And I know we've had these conversations, even on other Zoom calls with you and Veena, and Veena's it was very hard for me to comprehend as well, but this is what you really like. And I wanted to dive into this. But I wanted to start with your journey because, obviously I know a bit of a background about your mom was investing in real estate and then Veena was investing in real estate. But how did you kind of get involved in all of this?
Sure. As you said before, we have this long history of being in real estate in our family. So, we had the building blocks there ready to take. And Veena started the journey for us as far as the next generation goes. And when she was working in her last company, or I guess she owned it, so it was her company, she needed someone to do business management for them and someone that they could trust with their bank accounts, with investor information. And so she's like, you know what? My sister is someone I trust with my life, and I trust her ethics are at the level that hers are, so she kind of drafted me into working in multifamily. I thought I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I thought that, that was my life's path, but, things happen. And now I'm so glad. At the time, it was a little kicking and screaming. I thought that I wasn't going to be good at it. I had a lot of doubts, but, it really has opened up my world, being able to have something outside of my family life and building something for my children that they can hopefully carry on one day if they so choose.
So when you started out, how did you decide that this was a role that you're going to play in this whole team sport of multifamily? How did you stumble upon this role?
Yes. So because my degree was in health services management, that's more like the management of bigger practices and hospital systems, I kind of had the foundation for doing business management. And so it was a pretty seamless pivot to be able to help them with the day-to-day operations of the multifamily space. When Veena decided to start her own company with no partners at that time, she then turned to me and said, we should be partners because I know our values align. I know that we can get through rough waters together, keep swimming. And I know that at the end of the day, our bond is so much stronger than business that there's nothing that we can't get through. And so I started in the business management. I learned everything I could. I asked a lot of questions that felt dumb at the time. And I honestly now, being on this side of it, I really encourage people that are new to the space to ask the questions that you think are dumb, because there are really no dumb questions. Everyone starts somewhere. Everyone needs mentorship or a team behind them. I know Vina talks a lot about building your team, and I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that's why our partnership works so well, is because my strengths are her weaknesses and vice versa.
I like that. But I just want to go back to, when you just started out with Vina. I think a lot of times, especially I've seen it, in my family, my extended family, a lot of times when you mix business with family, there's like this, we always hear this, don't ever mix business with family or friends, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We always hear this. How did you guys overcome that? Because, to me, I understand the idea that yes, you're within the family and you trust that person, but at the same time, you don't want to be in a situation where money becomes a point of contention, which a lot of times it does, right? In a lot of families. So how did you overcome that when you just started out?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I want to preface this by saying, I don't think everyone should work with their family. I don't think everyone should work with their friends. And I'm not by any means saying, go, partner with your sister or your brother and start something, because not everyone has the same motives. Not everyone has the same life. Not everyone has the same relationship. We got very lucky, very honestly, that we both were driven by taking care of our kids, and I love her children like they were my own, and she loves my kids like they are her own. So at the end of the day, we can both say that even when we disagree, our driving force is always going to be our kids. And so because we have that unified goal, it's been pretty, I'm not going to say it's perfect. There's definitely times where we do butt heads. But at the end of the day, we can always come together because we do have that same mentality of everything we do is for our children. But yeah, so we definitely have our issues. We butt heads, both in business and in personal life. She's still my big sister. She's always been the boss of me, but now she's my partner. So there's been a little bit of adjustment period here. And I will say Vina has done an excellent job of kind of trying to pull me up into this role of equal partnership, because when I first started with her as a partner and not a subordinate, I had a hard time speaking my mind. I had a hard time thinking I knew enough to be, a valuable voice in the room when we were making decisions on how to move forward. I second guessed myself a lot. I was worried I would make the wrong move, and she really has taken the time to build me up and say, I would not have partnered with you if I didn't think you would be successful in this, and and if I didn't think you had valuable ideas and input to bring to the team. And there's still days where she has to be like, we're partners. It's not just me doing this. And it's easy to get lost in that because she is the face, right? When we talk about, like, let's say social media, I'm like, oh yeah, and when you do this and you do this, this is what's going to happen from that. And she's like, you mean we do this, right? It's a very hard line to cross once you've been in the second position for so long and now you're an equal partner. But, it's definitely an adjustment. So I don't think that everyone can do it with their family. I do think that we have a very special relationship that allows for it. But it is an ongoing process.
I love that because I think it's important that she's bringing you up to that level, even though at times you may not feel that you're an equal partner. And I think that is so important, that speaks volumes to any partnership, right? So, and that could have very well been the case vice versa the other way, right? You could have just said that, well, hey, Vina, you don't know what the operations are like. I'm doing it. And so, you're not as important, but at the same time, you understand that there are skills that she brings to the table and there are skills that you bring to the table. And so they have to complement and match each other so that you guys are working cohesively and effectively.
100%.
What do you think is the importance of, having a good team or a big team in multifamily? Because, we always talk about it being a team sport, but then when you talk about real estate, people are like, oh, this is easy. We just go and buy a property and we just put tenants in there. So what do you think is the importance of this team?
Yeah. So, I mean, the teamwork starts from day one of forming the partnership, right? You're going to go out and you're going to find your deals, but who's underwriting those deals? Who's doing the market analysis? Who's figuring out if this even fits in your buy box? Who's figuring out what your buy box is, right? So there's going to be people who are more analytical. There's going to be people who are the visionaries, right? So for us, Vina's the visionary. She sees really big picture, but she doesn't necessarily see how to get there. And so as the integrator of our team, it has been my job to take her vision and say, here are the steps. I live and die by a flow chart. I am going to write down every step to make sure it doesn't fall through the cracks. And so your team is just going to be the people that you can lean on when your skills aren't as strong in that area. Now, we're all trying to learn, right? Every day I'm trying to work on my skills and my weaknesses. That's why I'm here on this podcast. Honestly, I'm trying to be more out there and more open. And yeah, I have heard a lot of feedback from people saying, we don't get to see the introverts. We don't get to see the people that want to be, quieter in the background, being successful in this. They see people like Vina and you, where you're very outgoing and, ready to put yourself out there. And I think that leaves a lot of questions for people of, can I be successful in this space if I don't have that kind of personality? And so I'm hoping that by working on my, insecurities and anxieties about putting myself out there, that I can hopefully help some other people that have this similar personalities to me know that they can be successful doing this. They just need to partner up with the people that are like you guys, where they can be the face of the company and you can do the heavy lifting behind the scenes, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's so key, right? There is space and there's opportunity for everybody, every personality type. Even if you're an introvert, that's the beauty of working in a large team. Like, even if you're an introvert, you don't have to be the face, but you can really do the back end operation and still be valuable to the team or to whatever you're trying to do. No matter what type of business it is, right? Whether
Yes.
it is real estate, whether it's some other XYZ business, that's the value that you bring, is because the integrators are the ones who are doing all of the heavy lifting.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Immigrant Doctor Podcast. If you would like to learn more, head to www.theimmigrantdoctor.com. See you again soon on another episode and another amazing journey.